WSJU Radio, DJ Mad Max on the airways here at St. John's University, Queens, New York, and we have a very special guest in the building, multi-platinum producer, who goes by the name RSONIST.
How you doing?
How you doing today, RSONIST?
Can't complain, my brother.
Welcome to St. John's, welcome to St. John's University, Queens, WSJU Radio, as I just mentioned. So tell me a little bit about your background. I know you're from Jamaica, Kingston.
No, actually, I'm from Jamaica, but not Kingston. I'm from Mandeville, Jamaica. But I left there when I was like 4 years old. My mother and father, first time they came over was when they brought me over, and the rest is history. Moved to the Bronx, lived in the Bronx most of my life. Left the Bronx, went to Howard University for a few years. And I've lived a lot of places, from Vegas, Connecticut, a lot of places. Man, I've lived in different places, and I've just visited a lot of places because of music. So I'm just blessed, man.
I gotta ask you, what was it like living in Connecticut? Coming from you, because I'm from Connecticut.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, I didn't live deep in Connecticut. I was right in Stamford.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I know where that was.
It was because when I moved, the first time I moved to Connecticut was around 9/11. So I was actually making plans to move to Jersey, but after 9/11 happened, I didn't want to sit in traffic crossing a bridge every day, so I went the opposite direction. And Stanford was cool. I stayed there for about, I'm going to say about 5 years. And then at the tail end of that, I lived in Vegas for a little while. Then came back to New York and lived in different places in New York, from Mount Vernon now, to Queens to, so just moving around. Mm-hmm. But since 2012, I've had a studio in Manhattan, in Midtown Manhattan, since 2012. I just switched location, but I'm still in Manhattan. I'm only 5 blocks from my last place.
And what was it like going to Howard University?
It was dope. I tell people all the time, only thing that messed it up was the classes. It's a great school to learn how to maneuver around people and how to rub elbows with people and things of that nature. You know what I'm saying? It's definitely not a school that, if you don't go there focused, you will definitely be out of that school. Not because the work is that hard, because the temptations around the work, it can keep you from doing work if you don't have a focus or a goal or, things like that.
Mm-hmm. What would you say is the class that you valued most at your time at Howard? The class I valued the most, I don't know. I'd have to think about it. Mm-hmm. I'm so far removed from college, I don't even remember my own. I know my major was architecture. Okay.
But those weren't the classes I valued, because, to be honest with you, I went to school to be an architect because my guidance counselor in high school was like, I didn't know what I wanted to do going into college. So my guidance counselor was like, what are you good at? She looked through my record. She was like, you're good at math and you're good at art. All right, you ever thought about architecture? And I'm like, no. So I signed up for Howard under the School of Architecture. They accepted me, and I went there, ended up getting kicked out of college. Got into a fight at my 4th year. I was in a 5-year program. My 4th year, got into a huge fight on campus. Got kicked out, came home. When I came home, my homeboy, my old partner at the time, Thriller, he had bought an MP, and he was going out of town. He was going out of the country. Matter of fact, he was going to Trinidad. So I'm like, yo, let me hold the MP and see if I could. He let me hold it for about a week. I did some bullshit on there. It sounded cool, but I made a couple of beats. I kept them. And then when he came back, he took an MP back, and I remember I got introduced to a guy by the name of Todd Terry. That's a house producer. If anybody's into house music, he's like the originator of sampling. Like, he's the one that started sampling, and the reason why you probably got to clear samples now is because of him. But anyway, I met him. He had a hip-hop artist at the time, and I got introduced to him as a producer. Mm-hmm. So he was like, yo, you got any beats? Let me hear some beats. And I only had those 2 bullshit beats that I made. And he loved them. I mean, I loved them enough to buy them. He asked me how much. I didn't know what to say for a beat, so I just said $1,000 each. Mm-hmm. Thinking that, I'm like, there's nobody going to go for that shit. He probably going to laugh at me. He went in the back to his safe, got $2,000, brought it back, was like, yo, I need more beats. And I'm like, yo, I don't really have any more beats. I borrowed my homeboy's equipment, and, he said, where you live at? I said, I live in the Bronx. He said, let me get your address. You know, at the time, it seemed kind of weird. I'm like, gave him the address. Like about 3-4 days later, he sent me like about $30,000 worth of equipment. You know what I'm saying? And I was off to the races.
And that was basically your introduction to the game, which Thrilla had the beat machine.
Right.
And you started making the beats. Now, everyone knows you started with the Dipset making the beats for them, and I know before that you made beats for Canibus.
Yeah.
So how about you tell us the story of how you got connected with Canibus?
Well, the Canibus thing was kind of like the beginning of Heatmakerz as far as we knew a guy who, it's gonna sound weird, we knew a guy who knew a guy who was an A&R at Universal. So the guy who knew the A&R at Universal was like, yo, I got an idea. I want to start a team of dope producers called the Heatmakerz, da-da-da-da-da, this, that, and the third. So we're like, yeah, it sounds dope. And he's like, yo, Canibus working on the album. I need y'all to give me some beats for Canibus. Gave him some beats for Canibus. They ended up picking the, how many beats did they pick? Ended up picking one beat. It was one. They picked one beat, and they paid us. And when they paid us, the dude who was the middleman at the time, obviously, he got to get his PC, or that's the way the game works.
Yeah.
So he's like, all right, cool. They only paid us $5,000. I got to give $1,000 to the lawyer, which is gonna leave us with $4,000. He was like, and then somehow we got left with like, I want to say he said the lawyer wanted $1,500, and he was gonna take $1,000. So now we were left with, it was like $2,500, and me and Thrill at the time had to bust it in half. And it wasn't until a couple years later, I remember I ran into a guy from Universal, and he was like, yo, man, y'all made off on your first record. Y'all sold your first record for $10,000. I'm like, what are you talking about? He was like, yo, the record y'all did for Canibus, you sold it was $10,000. Y'all are lucky. First time out the gate, y'all got $10,000. I'm like, not, you know what I'm saying? Because in my head, we got $5,000. So at that point, I'm like, you know what, man? Like, people want to do shiesty things, so to play at that game, I incorporated Heatmakerz, and Heatmakerz, we went off to the races. And that was over 20 years ago, a little over 20 years ago. Mm-hmm. But here we are.
You mentioned the name of Heatmakerz, and your name is RSONIST. So how did you choose that name?
Well, the funny part is I had RSONIST before Heatmakerz.
You did? So you always went by that?
I used to DJ. My name was DJ RSONIST. I just spelled, there was another DJ Arsonist Arson from the Bronx. And he used to spell his name, regular A-R-S-O-N. So I'm like, I don't want nobody to confuse me with this dude. So I used to spell my name R-S-O-N-I-S-T. I used to just drop the A, and instead of Arson, it was Arsonist. And when Heatmakerz came along, it was made perfect sense. I didn't have to change my name. It just worked.
And when was the first time that you touched the turntables? As you just mentioned, you were DJing.
My sophomore year of high school. Because I had a friend of mine that he was DJing, and he used to, everything was a competition with him. So he would make it into a competition like, yo, my mixes is this, that. And I didn't even DJ. I didn't even have any dreams or hopes to DJ. Mm-hmm. I just was so competitive, and he was talking so much shit that I just went ahead and got equipment. Mm-hmm. I taught myself on that. I started to fall in love with it, buy records, just keep buying records or singles, you know what I'm saying, 2 of each so I could do tricks. And I used to watch all the DMC battles, and I got into it, and then that kind of spearheaded just my love for music in general. You know what I mean? When Thriller let me use Beat Machine, I didn't know I didn't even know where his snare goes. I used to listen to a lot of reggae music too, so, if you know anything about reggae music, the placement of the drums are different. So I used to sample American records and then I'd be somehow putting reggae drum patterns to them until I had to teach myself the difference. Like, okay, cool, that's a reggae swing, it's a hip hop swing. And later on in my career, I've learned how to combine the two, so it gives it a sound that most people don't have. Because most people, their mind is, especially a lot of hip hop producers, their mind is programmed to do straightforward drums, and that's where that's where boom bap comes from. I don't make boom bap. So I don't even like people mentioning that around me, like boom bap sounds old. I don't make old music. When we put out El Capo sounds fresh. And yes, it's a New York sound that I guess some people can call, nostalgic or whatever you want to call it. But it's the newer version of what I did in 2001 with the Diplomats.
Mm.
You know what I mean? It's a cousin of that sound, and it's a bigger sound.
And it's classic, as you just said, but it's fresh and new.
Right.
What's your view on production today? Because when you turn on the radio, you listen to the top charts now, everything sounds the same, even the beats. I say everyone has the same sound. You could tell what's an RSONIST beat. You could tell back in the day what's a Primo beat.
Right.
What's your view on the production state right now?
I think because of the internet and the way music is put out to the people, producers feel the need to worry about quantity over quality.
Mm-hmm.
So now they realize that their artist counterpart put out 5 albums in 1 year. They only put out 2. So now they feel like they got to step up their productivity. So now they sacrifice quality for quantity, not knowing that because of the way music works now, and because music never dies. Like back in the day, a song might come off the shelf and you couldn't get a copy of that song, so you was just asked out.
Yeah.
Now every song you've ever wanted to listen to is at your fingertips at any time. So what does that tell you, or what should that tell you as a producer? That should tell you the better I make the record, the longer people are going to listen to it. But a lot of producers don't look at it like that. They look at it like such and such just put out 20 records last week. I got to put out 21.
Yeah.
I never looked at it like that. I look at it like, yes, I do believe that quantity is important, but I believe that because of the state of music now, quality is even more important because people actually can listen to your record for a lifetime if it's that good. So I go more for a feeling, man. I don't chase a sound. I go after, the record I do has to make me feel something. If it don't make you feel nothing, then we don't buy albums anymore. When I say we don't buy albums, I mean physical copies. So what does that tell you? Why do we download music? For a feeling. If it doesn't give us a feeling, then what are we listening to? We're just listening to white noise. So I want to give people a feeling, but everything that I make has to give you a feeling, has to trigger something. If it doesn't do that, then I fail my mission. Mm-hmm. And I don't think a lot of producers think like that. Like when I'm dead and gone and my kids are playing the music or playing my music for somebody else, I want them to feel through the music what I was about. You know what I mean? Like when you listen to it and it gives you a feel and a consistent feel from record to record, and it might switch moods, but you kind of know it's the same conductor behind all of these, and you like, I understand what he's about. Like I listen to Primo, and through his music I can just tell what type of vibe he's on, just because it's that different. Same thing with Timbaland, same thing with Swizz. All the notable producers, down to Just Blaze, to Kanye, to Justice League, to people who, when you listen to their music, it has a distinct sound. You can kind of tell what they're about, but the producers that jump all over the place, and anybody could have made the record, it's like, you're just chasing a hit. You might catch a hit in this day and age, but this day and age, a hit, unless you make a mega hit, a regular hit now lasts about a month.
Yeah.
Tops. You know what I'm saying? Back in the day, that same hit would have lasted you a year.
Yeah.
But again, because of the way music is delivered to the people, it's different. So you sell your soul to get a hit that's going to last you for a month. What does that really say about you and your whole approach to the game? You know what I mean? I guess I've been doing it so long that I realized that anybody can catch lightning in a bottle one time, and I don't aim for that. You know what I mean? I just aim to do bigger and better things.
And to create timeless music.
Yeah, that goes without saying. That's what I'm saying. If I give you a feel that is going to stick with you, because what happens is, like, I have a lot of people that hit me like, you're the dude that produced the music to my high school years. And the reason why they could say that is because that music let off an energy to them that made them feel a way that they never forgot, and they attached that feeling to a certain part of their life. You can't say that about a lot of music. A lot of music, like, think about it. Think about the amount of music we intake over the course of not even your lifetime. Let's just say 5 years.
Yeah.
How many of those really stick? Small, maybe 1%, maybe. Because we hear a lot of music. We hear over 5 years. You probably hear, whether you know it or not, just riding in cars and listening to radios and going on the internet, especially with the internet and Instagram and everything. Your ears probably hear about 10 to 20,000 songs.
Yeah.
Right? And out of those 10 to 20,000, how much you really remember?
Not many.
This is what I'm telling you. So, with that being said, how we can sit here and talk about El Capo and you saying how you feel about El Capo, mission accomplished. Because again, you do radio. You listen to a bunch of music.
Yeah.
And besides you doing radio, you ride around in cars. You you're on the internet. Music is playing every day, all day in different places. If we go into a lounge around here somewhere, there's going to be just music playing through the speakers.
Yeah.
Whether we know it or not, we come in contact with tons of music every day that it doesn't stick. So my goal is to make music that you can't just walk by and not be like, yo, what's that? I need that. Or, yo, that's dope. That made me feel, yo, can I get a copy of that? Where can I buy it? You know, I need that type of reaction. If I don't get that type of reaction from a lot of records that I make, I'm not saying every record, but at least 90% of the records I make, I'm you know what I mean? I got to reapproach. But it's been working so far, so I'm not, you know, I'm not mad.
You've been in the industry for a long time. When would you say that the sound changed as a whole?
Around 2007, 8.
2007?
Around 2007, 8, around that area. You know what I mean? Around that area. Because at one point what had happened was it went from crunk to trap. Like crunk had a short span, like with Lil Jon, and you know what I'm saying, as far as like the impact. But then there was Jeezy and T.I. with, you know, they came in with, they had a name for this style of music, and that's, I think, for so many years it was just like, okay, cool, it's hip hop music, it's this, it's that. When trap came out, it was like it gave a certain region or certain regions their own identity, and I think that's why it was so powerful, because for years, New York was kind of like the dude walking around with his chest high, like, yo, we started hip hop, we did this, we did that. And then the South came around and said, all right, cool, we're not going to do it the way y'all did it, but we're going to do it like this, and this is the name of it.
Yeah.
And we're going to make it so crazy that y'all going to feel like you have to fuck with it in order to be successful. And that shit happened for years, you know what I mean? Like, I watched New York artists who wouldn't even have known how to approach a trap record, start trying to make trap records because they felt like that was their only way to stay in the game, and the shit almost became disgusting to watch. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because, I salute the South and all the regions that was pushing trap heavy or drill music or whatever it was. I respect that because that's your sound. You know what I mean? I can understand you being tired of having to use somebody else's town to get on. You know what I mean? Like, I know the South was tight back in the day when they had to make quote-unquote hip-hop records to try to pop because that probably wasn't their thing. But now that like you have Migos and you have... a bunch of Young Thug artists of that nature. That's cool for them. But then when there's a dude out of the middle of Brooklyn
sounding like that,
sounding like Migos, it's hard for me because I understand you listen to the radio and that's probably what you grew up to. But I'm just from a time where creativity was everything. You know what I mean? Where you went into the studio and you tried to figure out how not to sound like the next person. Now it's like, how can I sound as much like that person as possible? You know what I mean? That's what the game has come to now. So even for me, with the type of music I make, when certain artists come in my studio and they tell me they want beats, I gotta let them know, like, yo, you know I don't make trap music, right? Like, I don't want either one of us to be misled going into this. I make soul music, and I make a bunch of different variations of soul music, but my music is strictly based on feel. I'm not going to trap it out for you. I'm not going to take a classic record and put trap drums on it. Like I heard some dude the other day played I'm Ready. He redid I'm Ready and put trap drums on it. And I'm like, no.
Yeah,
like,
that couldn't sound right.
It wasn't meant for that. You know what I'm saying? I just believe, it's like another dude just put out Dipset Anthem, his version, and put trap drums on it. And I'm like, where's the creativity? You took the way I chopped the sample up exactly and just put drums on it. Like, what?
Yeah.
You understand? Like, how does that make you feel like, as the producer, how can you tell somebody I made this beat? You didn't make that beat. Like, granted, people will be like, yo, but you sample. Yes, but if you listen to the way I sample and take shit apart and put it back together. You know what I mean? Like,
that's creativity.
Right. You listen to any record, it's not going to sound like that when you play it back before I did anything to it. Mm-hmm. You understand? Like, if you play the original sample of, we pick any record off El Capo, if you take Crystal Occasion. Mm-hmm. I mean, obviously, a lot of people won't know where that sample came from. I won't tell them, but you would never know. You know what I'm saying? It's chopping it up and rearranging and doing a bunch of shit, and that's creativity to me. I don't believe that you take somebody else's work. Like, if I ever take something that, let's say I took something somebody else did, and I don't change it enough, I'm telling people, nah, I just looped it up and I put it out. I don't even put the Heatmakerz tag on it because at the end of the day, I didn't do nothing to it. I'm not trying to take credit for something that stayed the same.
Yeah.
So, and I think a lot of people don't think like that now. It goes back to what I said before. People just want to get in the door. They don't give a fuck how they get in the door. They don't realize that when you get in the door, you actually got to stay. Or else it didn't make sense for you to get in if you can't stay. And a lot of dudes can't stay. They don't know how to, like when the light is on them, they don't know how to lead the way because they've never been creative. They've always followed the lead. So now when they're in the lead, they don't know what to do. They're confused. And, you know, it is what it is.
Yeah. And I gotta just give you a round of applause for staying in the game for so long and being creative at what you do, because we need more art producers like you that knows the ways to just stay relevant and just make hits and good music.
Right.
Stuff that's timeless and relates to people. As you mentioned, the guy that reached out to you from high school, just listening to your stuff.
Right.
And the soundtrack years.
I don't think people realize the importance of a sound or a brand, because I think everybody thinks about now. They don't think about 20 years from now when if you didn't make a name for yourself, you can't stay in the game because nobody cares. It's like, think about it. If Heatmakerz never had a sound, and I keep saying we like it's a bunch of us, it's really just me. But if Heatmakerz didn't have a sound, and I'm like 20 years later, I'm telling people like, yo, this is what I'm charging for a beat, and knowing that the climate of music is different now, they would laugh at me. But because they understand the brand is built and solidified, you can't. You got to just respect it.
Yeah.
It's either you're going to pay it or you're going to say, I can't afford it, but I respect it. And I think a lot of people don't understand the importance of building the brand in that way. I think they just look at it like, yo, I got to get lit now. Yeah, that's cool, but what happens when the next wave of producers come in and you didn't even solidify your spot in this era? You're finished. So, you know, I kind of understood that early, that the Heatmakerz brand had to be held up to a certain, standard.
Mm-hmm. Now tell me, when did you get connected with Cam'ron and Jim Jones?
At about 2000. At the time was me, Thriller, and my other partner. It was three of us at the time. And we were in North Carolina. We ran into no, not North Carolina. Actually, we came back up from North Carolina, and we ran into a dude by the name of Renee McLean.
Mm-hmm.
And Renee McLean used to manage Cam at the time. So we were doing some different business with him about something else. And he was like, yo, what do y'all do? Because, we were spending some money with him, and I guess he was trying to figure out how the fuck we was getting our money. He was like, what do y'all do? I said, yo, we produce. So he was like, word? He said, yo, I manage Cam. Let me get some beats for Cam. And I always kept the CD on me. So I had a CD of like 20 beats, and I gave it to him. And he hit me back and was like, matter of fact, Cam hit me. And said that out of the 20 beats that I gave him, I think they picked 9. So 9 of them was on Diplomatic Community, the first one. And then I did an extra 2, and that was it.
And it was all history from there.
Yeah.
The thing I also wanted to get into was a few years back, the whole Mase Cam'ron thing. And you made the beat for Dinner Time, right?
Yeah.
How fast did that beat have to be made after the Oracle came out?
Let me tell you the crazy part about that. The Oracle came out, right? But around that time, I was on like my gospel wave where I was just sampling a bunch of gospel records.
And that was in the beginning, too, of Dinner Time.
Yeah, exactly. So when the Oracle happened, I remember me and Jim was in the studio, and I'm like, yo, Jim, you hit Cam, tell him I got the record for him. I said, Mase on his pastor vibe, and I said, I got this record. And in the beginning, it's saying some fire shit. I said, I think it'd be dope for him. So I played it for Jim. He said, yeah, send that to him. And he did it real quick. The only thing that I was mad about is that I didn't get a chance to mix that record. Like, I don't know who he had mix it, but I think the point would have got across better if I'd have got a chance to mix it and really arrange it the way it should have been. But it was fast, but that's how it came about. It's just like I thought about, okay, Mase is on his pastor thing. I sampled this record. What it's saying in the beginning is fire. Maybe he'll fuck with this, and Jim agreed, sent it to him, and the next time when I heard it, it was up on the gram.
Yeah, that's when Cam'ron previewed it and he was laughing. And
Yeah.
Were you in that video in the background by any chance?
No. I was in my studio.
Oh, okay.
And I didn't even know if he was going to use it. Everybody just kept hitting me like, yo, look, go to Cam. But I think he had tagged me.
Mm.
And And then I finally went to my Instagram. I'm like, oh shit! And I remember the clip on the gram sounded fire. When he put it out, I'm like, damn, we should have let me mix it. Because people kept hitting me about the mix, like, damn, why it sound like that? And I think Cam was on the road when he did it, and he rushed to put it. I don't know, but
I think he just wanted to get it out as soon as possible because you know how beefs are. You want to get it out right away. If you wait, they consider you lost because you waited so long.
Yeah, 1,000,000%.
Yeah. So I know you just did some work for Purple Haze too, which was fire. Big deal. Like I said to you earlier, best record on the project. How long you been putting that together for?
Well, Big Deal, people could see was on a snippet of it was on the gram for like shit since we was working on Diplomatic Ties. The intro I did, I want to say a year before Purple Haze 2 came out, and the last record I did, which was the most recent, was Fastlane. Fastlane I sent to him, probably like July. Yeah, I think I sent him like Fastlane in July or August. So yeah, we did those 3, but we got other plans. I'll speak on that later, but we definitely got other plans. It's going to be kind of fire. I think people will appreciate it. And then working on No Capo 2, or Jimmy and the Heatmakerz, I think we might name it. But it's fire. It's fire.
Just saw that you were in the studio the other day with Dave East and Jim Jones too.
Yeah.
So what's it like being in the studio with Dave? What you guys got planned for that too?
Actually, the crazy part is I've been in the studio, not been in the studio for like, a long period of time, but years ago, before Dave East was what he is now, I did work with him then, like a feature that he was featured on another artist record. It was him and another artist named Dub from LA, I think. They did a record together, and I did the beat for that. But that's the first time I met Dave, and then, years later, we always kept in contact, and even when we were in the studio now, he was like, yo, we got to get together and work on, I guess, some stuff he got coming for his next project. But the record we just did with him and Jim is fire. It's fire.
I'll be looking forward to it. And it's expected, Yeah. These are two, Dave East is a legend in the making. Jim Jones, he's already solidified himself.
Right.
But I expect that. That's what New York needs.
Like, I think the goal for El Capo 2 or Jimmy and the Heatmakerz, whatever, we're going to end up calling it, I think is just, I don't want to give them a carbon copy of El Capo 1.
You want to do something different.
Like, in the sense of, still give them that soul music and pain and all that stuff, but I want to, even the features I want to attack different. You know what I mean? Like, I want to get maybe some unexpected features that sound good on the records that people be like, oh, I didn't expect that, but that was dope. You know what I mean? Because I think Jim being the artist who he is, they expect him to stay within a certain spectrum of features. You know what I mean? As far as like, whether it be the Fabs and the Davies and the Rick Rosses and the that and the Cam'rons. Mm-hmm. Cam obviously is always going to be on a Jim project. I'm just saying in the sense of I just want to show him that like Dipset is loved everywhere in my opinion. You know what I'm saying? Like Dipset was the one rap group or set of people in rap that was accepted from here to Cali or here to fucking Asia.
They changed the culture.
Right, and I think to this day people still remember what they did for the culture, and it's kind of like that's why it's like the Dipset logo holds so much weight now, as opposed to other logos in hip hop. You look at Dipset, you look at Wu-Tang; those are like the 2 biggest logos from rappers.
Yeah,
So.
I agree. But if you think of the Diplomats and you look at G-Unit, that was New York hip hop, and
1,000,000%.
We wanted to see how longer and see more artists coming out with that similar style, and it just disappeared because you had the Diplomats and G-Unit. We expected hip hop to go even bigger with this, and then all of a sudden, all these artists just, like you said, followed the other wave of the sound down south. I think
New York became filled with politics, and that's ultimately what did us in the first go round. You know what I mean? I think New York, the powers that be in New York realized the powers that they had and abused it. And they abused it all the way until New York artists abandoned them and went down south to try to find safe haven. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And now they're working diligently to try to, to try to fix it. And it's harder than they think because now people have embraced trap music as urban music. That's the top of urban music.
Yeah.
When people talk about like, yo, we need urban music on our label, they're not thinking about fucking any type of rap shit. They thinking about bounce, get lit type of shit.
Yeah.
That's what they calling urban music now. You know what I'm saying? So it's up to the people that give two shits to make music with. I mean, at the end of the day, I'm not knocking that. I don't want people to think like I'm knocking trap music. I'm not knocking it at all. What I'm saying is, too much of anything is not good for you.
Change it up a bit. It's
Right.
good to have a change.
Even when soul music when everybody was making soul music, you know, around that time, like even R&B artists was coming out singing over soul tracks.
Yeah.
Even that was getting too crazy.
Even that's changed, in my opinion. You look at R&B, a lot of artists today auto-tune. You don't have a Keith Sweater anymore.
There is no R&B.
You know what I mean?
I mean, if you could name R&B, you got to tell me what an R&B is. It's either pop or that shit is considered hip-hop.
You don't have a Keith Sweater, Brian McKnight anymore.
No, and I don't think you ever will because, again, that type of music takes too long to put together. So the only way that would have worked is if Keith Sweat decides to put out a project now, his core fans will find him and they'll support him. But as far as a new artist doing that right now, I think that he or she, unless they have a ridiculous catalog, I don't think they can keep up with the demand, and it's because it takes a minute to make that type of music. You know, you got all type of harmonies, you got backgrounds, you got bridges, unless you can keep up with the demand and get people interested in it again, because people aren't interested in R&B anymore.
Yeah.
That like you see all like people that make R&B, they care about all the little nuances in the back. Yo, did you hear that harmony I had, or did you hear? People don't listen hard enough to care anymore. It's a real microwave society now. So it's like, if the shit can't be done in under 15 seconds, I don't want it.
That's what I call a microwave rap.
Yeah,
That's what it is.
it is. But at the end of the day, we gotta find that medium that.
The bridge.
Yeah, and I wouldn't even say the bridge, because I don't even think some of those artists can cross the bridge.
Yeah, I agree.
And the same way on our side. I don't want to make it sound like it's us against trap, but what I mean is certain New York artists aren't meant to do that type of music, and vice versa.
They're not.
It's like, I don't want to hear Migos on a premiere beat.
And I don't want to hear Cam and Jim on a trap beat.
This is what I'm saying. Certain things I just don't want to hear, because I feel like it's like I wouldn't want to hear a fucking MOP featuring Lil Pump. You understand?
Yeah.
It's almost like, nothing against Lil Pump. I respect him for the music he makes. I respect MOP for the music they makes, but we should not cross lanes with that. And that's and hip hop started to get to that point. We were crossing those boundaries where it's like, yo, why is this dude on a record with this dude?
Yeah.
Oh, I see what this is about. They just want to sell records. They think this is the way to stream. You know what I mean? The problem is why a lot of older artists think that younger artists stream more is that a lot of the older fan base, they don't even understand the whole streaming process.
Yeah.
That's the only reason. They still trying to find records, whether they look for it on, they go to the studio, how can I get a copy of such and such? What are you talking about? Go to Apple Music. What you mean? Where's Apple Music? Download such and such. Or download Spotify. What's Spotify? They just don't know. So I think it's mainly ignorance. It's not even that the older audience doesn't want to stream. They're just stuck in their ways of how they used to listen to music. They got the same 20 CDs in their car, and they probably keep popping that shit and listen to that shit day after day. And whatever comes on the radio, they might catch. But as far as streaming, they don't understand. You know what I mean? Like, they just don't understand how to stream. And I think that's the problem. The younger generation grew up with a phone in their hand.
Yeah.
So streaming is second nature to them. You know what I'm saying?
Just like how you may have grown up with the vinyls and I grew up with the CDs. Yeah.
Right. Exactly.
It's all a process.
Exactly. And then it's up to certain people to really stay in the loop. Some people, once they get passed by technology, they never try to catch up. You know what I mean? Like the other day, I told my mother, I'm like, yo, let me put Cash App on your phone. So if I got to send you money, I don't got to come all the way out here to... She's like, no, I don't touch my phone. Leave my phone. And the next thing you know, you put it on my phone and somebody takes my bank number. And then I'm like, Mom, listen to me. Come on. At the time, it was 2019. I'm like, it's 2019. And then, you know... A few weeks later, she's like, yeah, you know, send me this. I'm like, see, if you had the Cash App, I could have did that. So that's ended up putting Cash App on the phone, but it was a fight. And that's how it is even for streaming. I've ran into Uber drivers who playing shit like fucking, like Chief Rocker and Grand Poobah in the car, and I'm like, oh, you fuck with this? They're like, yeah, man, this is real shit, man. I got my CDs and then I'm like, yo, you do know you could plug shit up to your car and just stream this, right? You don't have to walk around with this bag of CDs like a fucking Neanderthal.
Oh, yeah.
And they just don't get it, man. I think that's what's making our generation suffer from, as far as like not the music not getting out there like that, because a lot of the people that are in our age group don't care about streaming, and they don't know how to. As simple and as stupid as that sounds, they don't fuck with it.
Yeah. I understand. I totally understand that, because I'm someone that still goes to vinyl stores and collects vinyls and CDs. Right. I appreciate that culture because I grew up with that. And moving on from there, I know you also work with Lil Wayne and a lot of the other greats. I definitely want to touch base on Lil Wayne. He's a huge fan base on St. John's and one of the greatest of all time, no doubt. What was it like working with Lil Wayne?
The crazy part is me and Wayne have been in studios other than the times that we did the records together. Like when we did the records together, big shout out to my man British. I think today's his birthday too. Happy birthday to British.
Happy birthday to him.
I had given British some beats because British was doing some work with Cash Money at the time. British is Cam's manager now.
Okay.
Back then I don't know if he was, but now he's Cam's manager. And I had given some tracks to British because he said he was going to be around Cash Money, and he was like, yo, Wayne's looking for beats. So I gave him the beats in like March. Mm-hmm. And they hit me back. Well, British hits me back in October. He was like, yo, they want these 2 beats. I need you to send it to them. And back then, this was like 2005.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was for the Carter 2.
Yeah, it was the Carter 2. So this was 2005 in October, because the album came out November 15th, I want to say, November 5th, something like that, if my memory's right. But anyway, they hit me in October to send the beat so they could mix it. Back then, I was at my homeboy's crib. I wasn't even at my house, and I had to send the beats through dial-up. Do you know how long that shit took to send WAV files for 2 songs through dial-up? That shit took about like 8 hours. Anyway,
it goes in minutes.
Right, seconds. Just click the button and shit's gone.
Yeah.
Anyway, so they mixed the song, and at this time, I met Wayne before, but never after we did the music. So then one day I'm at BET. I forgot what I was doing at BET at the time. And Wayne was at BET, and we just happened to cross paths, and I introduced myself because I don't think he remembered me as being Heatmakerz from the first time we met.
Yeah.
So I'm like, yo, Wayne, what up, man? You know, Heatmakerz, you know, I did the Mob, and I did Receipt on the album. He's like, oh, shit. You know, he was like, yo, that's love, man. Yo, thank you, man. I appreciate you. Da-da-da. Like, real cool dude, man. Like, you know, down to earth, humble, and just a good dude. Since then, I've been trying to, you know, get back in with Wayne to do some work because I feel like we could really make some good music. And I've actually sent some music over for whatever project he's working on now, and they told me they liked a few joints, but I don't know, so I don't want to speak on it yet, but that's definitely something I'm going to revisit.
Definitely made the timeless songs on the Carter 2, especially The Mob is a great one, as we all know.
Yeah.
I also read a story online about you being in the studio with Big Pun and Fat Joe. Is that true?
Yeah, that was actually my first studio experience.
Wow.
A friend of mine used to go to, big shout out to my man Lynx, he used to go to school with Cuban Link at the time.
Okay, shout out to him.
And we had just started producing, so he was like, yo, maybe I could come through, play with some beats. And funny enough, the beat that we did for Canibus, the sequel, yeah. Fat Joe actually wanted that beat for the Terror Squad compilation album. And I don't remember what happened, why it never worked out, but that first meeting with Big Pun and Fat Joe was the reason that gave me the fuel and the energy to keep producing. Like, really was the conversation I had with Fat Joe, because Fat Joe was just telling me how the game works and kind of putting me up on shit as a young producer and telling me, you know, how much money you can get fresh out the gate and just things of that nature. And I just remember that conversation always stuck with me, and I never lost focus after that conversation. So, you know, even when I see Joe, I tell him, like, I know you don't remember that, but that was a pivotal point in my career as far as, like, am I going to stay with this or am I going to do some other shit? And that conversation let me know that this is what I wanted to do.
Mm-hmm. Man, being in the studio with Big Pun, man, one of my favorite rappers of all time. I say it all the time, he's underrated.
Who, Big Pun?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know who would have him underrated. If you've ever heard him, maybe the newer generation because they didn't hear him, but anybody that was alive, anybody that was listening to music when Pun was alive, they already know what it is, man. I mean, Pun was different. Pun was a different breed of MC, from especially what people don't think about is what was out at that time. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, there was other rappers out. There was a bunch of, but when Pun, the shit that Pun was saying it around that time and the way he was saying it, and the charisma Pun had and everything was just, it was different, man. I think it showed in his record sales. It's not a coincidence he was the first Latin rapper to ever go platinum. He was that nice.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So anybody that would have Pun underrated, just to me, they don't know music. You can't know music.
Yeah. Pun was a beast. Capital Punishment is crazy.
Yeah, 1,000,000%.
Classic.
A big shout out to my man Young Lord. He did what record did he do? What was the name of that? Dun, 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 his single. He did the "You Just Wanna Be Like Pun."
Oh, It's So Hard.
Yeah, It's So Hard.
Yeah, that was off of Yeah Baby. Yeah.
Yeah, big shout out to my man Young Lord. He did that. Big shout out to Buck Wild. I know Buck Wild, I think, did Dream Shatterer, if I'm not mistaken. Man, Buck Wild's my homeboy. Yeah, I'm cool with a few producers, man. And those are Young Lord was actually a producer I met before I was even producing. We went to high school together. And I remember he used to tell, he'd be like, "What you do?" He said, "I'm a producer." I'm like, "What's that?" He was like, "No, I'm working with Craig Mack right now. I'm working with because he was working with Bad Boy. He was one of the hitmen." And he was like, I'm working with this person, that person. And I used to be like, "Oh, that's dope." And he was actually the first person I seen be accomplished as a producer that was in my age range. He was actually a year younger than me. And I was just like, this dude is moving, man, coming in this. I remember he bought this big-ass YL chain filled with diamonds, and this was before people was on it like that. And I'm like, oh, this dude getting some money. Because back then it was different, man. It's like, you produce one record, you get 15,000. Now it's like, you got to damn near, tell somebody 15,000, man, you got to damn near be #1 on the charts for the last 2-3 months.
Yeah.
But, you know, it is what it is. There's other ways to make money that wasn't around before.
Would you consider working with any other producers?
Collaborate?
Yeah.
No.
You're all yourself, just solo.
It doesn't make sense to me. What do we go, like, again, I told you music is about feelings.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to try to mix feelings with you on a record. You might have had the best day of your life, I might have had the worst day of my life. What are we going to make?
Yeah.
You understand? And I try to explain that to people without sounding like I'm just bullshitting them or being arrogant. It does not make sense. I don't want to hear mixed feelings on a record. Like, if I'm a Timbaland fan, I want to hear the beat that Timbaland is going to make.
Yeah.
And if I'm a Swiss fan, I want to hear what Swiss got to make. I don't want to hear Swiss and Timbaland together, Swiss doing the drums, Timbaland doing... No, I don't want to hear that. You understand? Like, if we're going to be on the same album, collaborating that way, like I do my records, we might talk about what the album needs and you do that record, and that's fine.
Yeah.
But as far as sitting there and you play the keys and now I'm going to do... It's like, I tried that one time, and it's corny to me. It's like, the other person is never going to have... It's like...
They're never going to be on the same level.
Right. I did that for years with another producer that I was working with at the time. He was I guess you could call him, he was new, and I was just trying to recreate a sound and at the same time give him a platform. And that shit ended up turning out to be like, we would be doing records, and I would think that it got to a good place, and now he want to add this and do that and soften up the... It was just too much, man. Like, and there's times I felt the way about it, and I'm like, if I say something, do I look corny trying to beef about something? And then it was just too much. I was like, already got a sound that I built for years. Why am I doing this?
Yeah.
And that shit just left a bad feeling with me, and I'll never do it again.
Mm-hmm. If there's any artists out there that you can work with that you haven't worked with, I mean, you worked with a lot of people in this industry. Who would they be?
You gotta go for the top dogs, man. Eminem's, Jay-Z's. Down to the 50 Cents.
Yeah.
There's just people that I'm fans of. You know what I'm saying? Like, I've always been a fan of 50 Cent's movement when he first came out. I think he's a dope rapper. I just think now he's just preoccupied with a lot of things.
Power.
But I just mean in general, he's in a whole different stratosphere in life. I just mean if I would love to have his fully undivided attention to work on a project. I think that would be so fire because, again, he's a super creative and talented dude. So, yeah, like Jay-Z, Eminem, 50 Cent. I've worked with a lot of other people that are pretty relevant now, so it's hard to, those are just like, that's the bucket list. Well, Jada. I've worked with Jada on other albums, but I would love to work with Jada on his own project. I think that'd be dope.
That's what we need. More hits from the Arsonist and Jadakiss, as we all know.
Yeah, man.
Now, what is next for you, Arsonist?
Everything. A little bit of everything. I'm working on Gorilla Glue Part 2 with Fred the Godson, Joel Ortiz. I'm working on El Capo Part 2, or AKA Jimmy and the Heatmakerz. Hopefully doing some records with Ross. We're going back and forth now. I'm actually checking my phone to see if he hit me and let me know which records he's taking. But yeah, Ross, doing some. Did I say Remy? Remy's album. Who else? Me and Cam got some talks about doing some things. You know, when it's more clear, I'll talk about that. Any and everybody, man. I can't even. I'm just working with a bunch of artists you might have never heard before, but you know how that should go. But the artists I'm naming is probably the ones that you would know, from the Ross to Remy to Jim, to Cam, Joel's when he comes home. You know, I'm just trying to work, man. Davies, he's supposed to get in and do something. We've been talking for a couple of years about doing something, but the last time he came out of the studio, you know, he want to lock in, so I'm gonna do some stuff with Davies.
I'll be looking forward to that too. Shout out to Davies.
Oh yeah, and I know I forgot about this. I actually spoke to him this morning. I should have I don't know the date yet. I'm waiting for him to hit me back too, but I should have a little EP coming out with Currency.
Okay,
A little 5-song EP with Currency. We did all 5 records already. I'm just waiting for him to. Actually, I think we're waiting on a Jim verse. I gotta get Jim a verse on this one song. But other than that, the shit is done. I just gotta wait for him to see what moves he want to make and what he want to do. But it's done.
That's it. And I want to wish luck to your Baltimore Ravens. You told me you're a Ravens fan.
Yeah.
I know they play the Titans this week coming,
Yeah.
so let's
It's
hope
actually a tough game.
Yeah, Derrick Henry's nasty.
Yes, it's just a tough game because they're the one team. Them and I believe I would have said Buffalo before they lost, but they're the 2 teams that can actually keep the ball out of Lamar Jackson's hands.
Yeah.
Because they're running game. You know what I mean? They can put together a running game. But let's see what happens, man. Lamar Jackson, he surprised the shit out of me this year. I did not have, and this is no disrespect to him, but I just didn't have the faith that he would be this. I knew he would. I seen him in college. I knew he was nice. I just didn't know his game would translate to this.
Yeah. But he's going to show it this year. The playoffs, I mean,
Just hope so.
think of the quarterbacks in that draft that just didn't make it, and he did. And everyone didn't think he was going to be this good. They doubted him.
No, but I don't know not one person that thought he would be this good this quick. Like, come on. He went from last year to, I mean, not last year. He went from people trying to convert him into a wide receiver 2 years ago to him being the quarterback of the Baltimore Ravens, who I think they had the most wins in the NFL this year, if I'm not mistaken.
Mm-hmm.
And he's about to be MVP.
And that's motivation, too.
Nobody could tell you that.
You use that as motivation.
But he said it. When he got drafted, he said it. He said, yo, because he was mad that he got drafted. When he got drafted, he said, yo, he said, I promised the Ravens I'm going to bring him a Super Bowl. We're going to see what happens.
And let's hope he does it this year for your sake.
Yeah, why not? Why not?
Yeah.
I'm with it.
Is there anything else you want to get out in the airwaves here at Arsonist?
Just be on the, keep your ears open,
Okay.
man. I'm always making new music. I'm actually leaving here, going to the studio
Oh, it's fire. Going to make some hits.
automatically.
Exactly. Now, tell everyone that's listening right now where they can follow you on the Instagram and Twitter.
Instagram, it's official Heatmakerz with a Z, so OFFICALHEATMAKERZ. On Twitter, it's the Heatmakerz with a Z.
All right, let's get it. Thank you, Arsonist, for coming today. WSJU Radio, St. John's University, for a great interview talking about your music and much more. You dropped a lot of gems on air here today, and we appreciate it.
Thank you, my brother.
No
Thanks for
doubt.
having me.
No doubt. Anytime, you're always welcome to come up here. All right?
All right, my brother.
Have a good day, you two.
You too, man.